studying for hours on end and not getting the results you want? I used to be that kid. Well, I'm here to tell you what those smart kids won't tell you. There's actually strategy and a plan of action behind the success. And in this video, I am going to break it down for you. There'll be timestamps in the description, so feel free to skip around, but I'll appreciate it if you watch the entire video. Also, if you haven't already, please join the fam below by subscribing to the channel and leaving a like on this video. Let's get into it. The first point is to create a study schedule. As part of creating a study schedule, you need to map out exactly which topics pertain to each subject. And this is useful to gauge exactly how much time you need to be spending on each subtopic, because you don't want to be wasting time on the easy work and then you cramming the difficult work the night before the exam. You need to space yourself out and plan accordingly. The idea here is that the most difficult topics get higher priority than the easy topics. Not to say that the easy topics are going to be neglected completely, but it's just going to give more attention to the things that really need work. Work out how long you need to spend on each section. Some topics require 1 day, whereas other topics require up to 3-4 days to get the work done. I suggest you study 2 different subjects every single day. One theory subject and one application subject. The reason for doing this is to prevent you from burning out on that day. So theory subjects are lighter, so you can actually do that towards the end of the day, whereas the application subjects, I'd suggest that you do it in the morning when your mind is really fresh and packed with energy. Okay, so the second tip I have is to find good resources. All resources are not created equal. Because different textbooks are written by different authors explain the same thing in different ways. Not to say that any textbook is better than another textbook. Certain textbooks you'll understand better because it's written more on the level of your understanding where you're currently at. The underlying point here is to find a set of notes and a textbook that you really understand. We're going to take our resources and incorporate it with external resources such as YouTube, Khan's Academy, and we're going to bring all the information together so that you have it in one place where you can actually just get into the flow and start memorizing, start practicing, and really grasp the work. The reason we're doing this is because using external resources coupled with your textbook and notes, it'll allow you to understand the work on a deeper level, which is crucial for when you're writing exams. The third thing we're going to do is map out the subject. This gives you a sense of direction in which you want to go, and it gives you goals that you can set. Okay, I need to finish this small subtopic which forms part of that subtopic, which forms part of the big subject, which is maths or physics or chemistry. So I use Notion to track and literally map out the subject. To explain how to map out a subject, I'm going to use mathematics, and as you can see here, I've broken it down into each of the sections: paper 1, paper 2, and each of the sections under paper 1 and each of the sections under paper 2. In here you can see at a glance how big the subject is and how big each of the subtopics are. So when you're following along, I want you to take a piece of paper and write down your main subject and write down all the subtopics for that subject and break it down into multiple papers if that's applicable to you. And I want you to use the table of contents from the textbooks that you're using and just double check that you got each of the subtopics correctly written down. Sometimes you think that a subtopic is only relating to a certain thing, but actually it's more vast than that. So just double check and write on all the main topics. The next thing I want you to do is to print out a few past papers. So let's say the last 3 to 4 years. Now that you got the past papers printed out, I want you to link the questions from the past paper to your actual syllabus. So you can say in paper 2, in my case paper 2 will be, I got trigonometry. I know question 4, 5 and 6 pertains to trigonometry. And I know that in the past paper, every question 4, 5 and 6 relates to trigonometry. If I want to practice trigonometry or any subtopic for that matter, I know exactly which questions to go to. Okay, so now we're getting into the second part of the video, which is the execution part. This is the more difficult part because you actually have to get in and tackle the content. The trick here is to tackle each subtopic individually. Okay, so let's move on to the main part. Past papers. So this can be from question banks, actual physical past papers from previous exams. You can get them online. If there's nothing available online, ask previous year students. Somebody has to have something. but past papers are so important. It's crucial. If you take one thing away from this video, it will be to do past papers. Now, I'm sure you've heard about this before. Past papers are the most important. Everybody says that, but nobody tells you exactly how to do past papers. There's actually a strategy, there's a technique to doing it effectively. I recommend that you print out the last 6 to 7 years. So if you're in 2021, print out the last 6-7 years. What I want you to do with these past papers that you've printed out is break them down into their individual sections. So I'm going to use biology to explain this. I have a full past paper here, and I'm going to completely take it apart, take out the staple. You know that these specific questions relate to a certain subject, and you just keep them all together. So if you're going to study the human nervous system today, you have all those specific questions from all of the years, which makes it so much more easier when you actually want to get into the studying process itself. So let's just say I'm studying the human nervous system today. What I'll do is I'll take out all the human nervous system questions which I filed away from previously, go through all those papers pertaining to that subtopic, and just learn how to answer those questions. What I mean is, first attempt it yourself, look at the memo, see what you're missing. If you did something wrong, correct it from the memo, and look where the marks are given. That's so important. You need to find out where the examiners are looking for those marks. There's certain keywords they look for, certain phrases that are crucial in the exam that the examiners look for. So once you figure that out for that content you're learning, I think you're really gonna ace it. The more papers you answer, the more familiar you'll get with the way examiners set questions. And there's only so many questions they can ask before they start paraphrasing, changing it up a little bit, but the base core content is exactly the same. Okay, so in terms of getting the actual past papers done and practicing those questions, if you don't know something, I don't want you to waste time on that question, because time is limited. You only have a certain amount of time to study before you burn out, you get tired, you want to break. So instead of sitting for 30 minutes on one question that you don't know, mark it off with a highlight and move to the next question. And then later on you can ask a tutor, your teacher, friends or family. You can go back to the textbook and use your memo in conjunction with your notes, your textbook, everything together, and just try to figure it out. Otherwise, go check online videos. There's so many videos online that can help you understand content on a better, more in-depth level. The last point I want to talk about is to study in short breaks. I know you've seen other people that study for 3, 4, 5 hours, but if you're just getting into this for the first time, like legit, like you're really trying to study this time, I suggest that you study in short intervals. And a nice way to track the short intervals is to use the Pomodoro technique. That's to study in short bursts, 25 minutes of studying followed by 5 minutes of a break. And you can keep on doing that. So 25 minutes, 5 minutes break, up to 2 hours. So about 4 sessions, 25, 25, 25, 25 to get to your 2 hours. I think that's a way better way of studying because it doesn't completely fatigue your mind. But it also depends on the content that you're doing. So if you're doing application stuff where you have to write down like maths, physics and chemistry, you might need a little more time because there's a lot of writing, there's calculation. Then I recommend the 50-minute Pomodoro. So it's a 50-minute session of working followed by a 10-minute break. Whereas if you're doing things like biology, history, business studies, things like that, which are more theory based, then a 25-minute study session followed by a 5-minute break is more effective, gives your mind a little bit more rest, and allows you to stay fresh and not fatigue yourself so early in the study session. Okay, so I'm pretty sure some of you can relate to this, and this is getting distracted with your phone. I know it's so addicting to just open up YouTube, watch other YouTubers' productivity videos while you're actually studying. It becomes a distraction because you study for 5 minutes and you open up YouTube, and then 2 hours later you realize that you just wasted so much time. There's a nice app called Forest that you can download, and it locks your phone for whatever time period you set it for, so you can align it with your Pomodoro time intervals. It gives you like an incentive, like a reward. So if you successfully make it through that time period, which is like 25 minutes, you can plant a tree and you can actually build up to like a big forest. Whereas if you default and you leave the app, that means use your phone to procrastinate, then your tree dies. Just helps for me, so I've used that and I hope that it'll help for you. But if you're very diligent and you don't need anything to help you, then go for it. Okay, so now that I've summed up my whole approach to studying, try it out and let me know if it works for you. I know it's difficult at first when you try to study really seriously, but I promise you over time when you get into it, it becomes way easier. I hope the preparation for your guys' exams go well. And if you're not writing exams and are stuck in quarantine, Feel free to binge watch all my videos on my channel. We'll call that productive procrastination. So that's all from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.